Hello, and welcome back to Studio 21.
This week, get the scoop on celebrities from George Clooney to the elusive James Bond.
Plus, another installment of the very humble series, Zane's Great Glorious Gargantuan Good Giant Gaming Guide.
And our first live performance of the semester, and so much more right here on Studio 21.
So, as always, it's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Gossip Guru. I'm Savannah.
And I'm Nate, and today we have some devastating news for you all. It's finally happened, folks. James Bond is dead.
What? James Bond isn't a real person, and he's been played by like 700 different weird British guys. Did one of them die?
No. I'm pretty sure even the ones who played Bond in the 60s are alive. As you know, the British are notoriously hard to kill. Just ask my great-uncle Ferdinand. Anyways, I'm talking about the fact that James Bond has been sold to none other than Amazon.
Oh, wow. That's big news. Not shocking, though. Amazon bought MGM Studios, the company that produced the Bond franchise, back in 2022.
Yeah, but the Broccoli family still controlled the rights to James Bond.
I'm sorry, the who?
The Broccoli family. Albert Broccoli got the rights to James Bond way back in the 1960s, and two of his children continued his legacy after he passed. But they finally decided to sell.
And now Amazon has the rights to one of the most beloved and sacred franchises of all time. I'm sure this will go well.
It's safe to say no one is happy about this except for Jeffrey Preston Bezos. Even Joe Russo, the co-director of many of Marvel's greatest movies, spoke about the deal. He went on Twitter begging Amazon not to Marvelize James Bond.
So this really has stirred the film industry.
I think you mean shaken, not stirred. We'll see where this goes. Hopefully Amazon doesn't just use these films as another way to make even more money.
Either way, we over at Studio 21 will be tuned in.
Our next big story this week concerns an iconic actor who's been around the Hollywood block a few times, proverbially speaking. I'm, of course, talking about George Clooney.
Oh yeah, I saw recently that he was making his Broadway debut pretty soon, starring in an adaptation of a film he also starred in, Good Night and Good Luck.
Well, right, sure, I guess that's happening too, but it's not really what we're talking about, though.
Then what are we talking about?
His farm.
His what?
Well, George Clooney recently brought up in an interview that as well as his wife and kids live on their farm in rural France.
Weird. What's the big gain for him here? Is George Clooney really in need of a secondary income source? Is the crop money what's paying the bills, or is it just like a relaxation thing?
Well, it seems like a bit of both. He wants to live in peace, and he seems to at least be taking care of the farmland. Clooney said, quote, "I drive a tractor with, and all those things," which I can only assume is referring to tilling the lands, feeding oxen, and picking ripe fruit from his trees.
Nate, can I be honest with you for a second?
Yeah, sure, this show is built around honesty.
I feel like I know why you're bringing this up.
All right, fine. I want a farm.
There we go.
It isn't fair. I mean, all these celebrities get to live on their farms, work with the land. I have to stay in college. What's the point? Clooney isn't the only one, you know. Millie Bobby Brown lives on a farm, too. I just want to feed pig slop and literally reap what I sow. And all I get to do here is feed myself slop and metaphorically reap what I sow.
I feel like you're really romanticizing farm life to a point I've only ever seen in every Hallmark Christmas movie. It's a pretty unstable job. I don't think farming is that much of a dream job.
I could work on a farm.
As what? A scarecrow?
I'd be great. I have the build.
That was meant to be a joke. You know what? Never mind. Maybe you can ask George Clooney if he's hiring scarecrows. Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Savannah. I bet I could find his number around somewhere.
And on that note, that's unfortunately all the time we have for you today on Gossip Guru.
But fear not. What we have next for you is even more exciting than us rambling. That's right, it's our first live performance of the semester.
And we're starting off strong with one of our very own crew members, Chris Medeiros, performing for us today under their stage name, Medeiros.
We'll also get a chance to interview them later on, but for now, please enjoy Mixed Signals, a new song from Medeiros.
When we met, everything fell into place, like the galaxies in outer space. We met by chance, but it felt like fate, and it felt like we were lost in mates. We fought like dogs in the back of the bar whenever I would do something wrong, but the patterns always changed, and it just felt just so strange. If no means no, then why are you mad at me? I thought you didn't want me to chase you. You told me back then that you weren't really into me. I thought you really meant what you said, yeah. Stealing my phone in the middle of the night and reading my texts out in broad daylight. You sat there, mocked me, and made me cry before telling me that I'm important in your life. Is it green or is it red? Is that smile on your face real or pretend? I somehow have to guess correctly, or you won't take matters lightly. You act like your heart's made of steel, and all of these guys are right at your heel. You tell me that they all hate me when they don't. Maybe I'm crazy. You told me you loved me after all these years, after all the heartbreak, all the tears. I sat on the seat, our little debrief on my bike as we rode along the street. You said that if I confessed, you would have seen me for the way that I wanted us just to be. But you told me you weren't into girls again and again. I was just a friend. If no means no, then why are you mad at me? I thought you didn't want me to chase you. You told me back then that you weren't really into me. I thought you really meant what you said, yeah. Stealing my phone in the middle of the night and reading my texts out in broad daylight. You sat there, mocked me, and made me cry before telling me that I'm important in your life. Is it green or is it red? Is that smile on your face real or pretend? I somehow have to guess correctly, or you won't take matters lightly. You act like your heart's made of steel, and all of these guys are right at your heel. You tell me that they all hate me when they don't. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy. Manipulate me, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy, and it's all in my head. Is it green or is it red? Is that smile on your face real or pretend? I somehow have to guess correctly, or you won't take matters lightly. You act like your heart's made of steel, and all of these guys are right at your heel. You tell me that they all hate me when they don't. Maybe I'm crazy. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for listening to my debut single, Mixed Signals. And now I'm going to be covering a really nice song, and I feel like y'all will like it. It's Chihiro by Billie Eilish. To take my love away, when I come back around, will I know what to say? Said you won't forget my name. Not today, not tomorrow. Kinda strange, feeling sorrow. Like a change you could borrow. When I come back around, will I know what to say? Not today, maybe tomorrow. Open up the door, can you open up the door? I know you said before you can't cope with anymore. You told me it was war, said you'd show me what's in store. I hope it's not for sure. Can you open
For you all at home enjoyed that set as much as I did?
I absolutely loved it. Anyways, I'm Carrie.
And I'm Zane.
And you're watching Release Date on Studio 21.
Right. Sorry.
First up for today, a film adaptation of one of the most legendary horror authors' short stories, The Monkey.
The Monkey, directed by Osgood Perkins and starring Theo James, Tatiana Mansley, and Colin O'Brien, released this past weekend. This film is a comedic horror film based on the short story of the same title by famed horror writer Stephen King. The film follows twin brothers Hal and Bill Shelbourne beginning in their childhood, where they encounter the titular monkey, a wind-up monkey toy that when the key is turned causes someone to die under miraculous circumstances. After a few people die and the twins figure out the association with the monkey, they lock it away at the bottom of the well. That is until the monkey returns decades later to wreak its havoc once more.
Stephen King is an author with many film adaptations to his name. There are masterpieces like The Shining, great films like The Shawshank Redemption, good ones like It Part 1, and even bad ones like The Dark Tower. Now, this film isn't a masterpiece. It's also not great. It certainly isn't good. And it's not quite bad. This film is terrible. At a brief runtime of just over 90 minutes, it's not a good sign when I thought the film was winding down for its third act, when in reality, it was just shy of the halfway point. This film is exceptionally boring. If the occasional kill that, in my heavily violence desensitized opinion, is slightly above average in intensity of gore, is enough to entertain you, then you're in luck, I guess. Unless you watch the trailer, in which case, I kid you not, you've seen over half of them. This movie's entire appeal is hinged on either its lukewarm at best violence or its comedy. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. For a movie that is a comedy before a horror movie, there is not one singular funny moment or joke in this movie. In fact, this movie is written like an overly long YouTube skit from 10 years ago that was only now allowed to see the light of day. All of the jokes are such boring, cringe-worthy schlock that it makes the movie almost unbearable to watch. This is made worse by the fact that the film insists on repeating its god-awful jokes at least 2 to 3 times each, just in case you were almost having fun. The relationship between Hal and his son, during the section of the film where he's an adult, feels like soap opera-level writing of quality. That's meant to be derogatory. This also isn't aided by the fact that all of the acting, spare the lead on a few occasions, is god-awful, and when it isn't, it's just shy of mediocre. The main conflict of the film, which I won't spoil, is not only incredibly half-baked, but also has one of the laziest, clumsiest, and most nonsensical resolutions I think I've ever seen. I'm being sincere when I say it's hard for me to concisely articulate, or even have much to say about, what I don't like about this movie, because it's pretty much everything. I know I sounded like I hate this film, because I do. If you have an IQ that's roughly room temperature, I'm sure you'll love this, otherwise probably don't bother.
Our next film is also a horror film and is a unique surrealistic take on the genre, Vivarium.
Vivarium, directed by Lorcan Finnegan and starring Imogen Poots, Jesse Eisenberg, and Jonathan Aris, released in 2019. The plot follows Gemma and Tom, a couple looking for a place to live together, travel to a strange suburban neighborhood where everything looks the exact same. However, when the couple try to leave the neighborhood, they realize that they are stuck inside of it. While they are trying to figure out how to get out of the neighborhood, they are forced to care for a humanoid baby who they think is the key to getting out of there.
I'm going to cut it straight to the chase. I did not like this film. I find it extremely disappointing whenever a unique screenplay, especially in the horror genre, is not good. And this film had one of the most interesting concepts I had seen thus far. So, where did it all go wrong? First of all, the writing was egregious. The pacing of the story was way too slow. I have to give the movie credit, but the first 30 minutes of the film was actually great, as it set up the strange world of Vivarium perfectly. However, after that, nothing exciting happens, as it was just extremely slow and dull. And do not even get me started on the main characters. I found both Gemma and Tom to be both extremely unlikable and annoying, and they did not even advance the plot at all. I know that they were written to be relatable to the audience, but they honestly felt like they were written by a 16-year-old child who was extremely annoyed with their parents. And there were several times that these characters were completely out of character, and it was extremely confusing. Next, the effects of the movie were bad. I know that this film was pretty low budget, but I do not constitute low budget for laziness. The entire film was pretty much green screened besides the interior of the house, and it looked awful. Like, there were several instances where I could see the reflection of the green screen on the character's hair and body, and that's not very good. And lastly, the ending. The film decides to do so much with the story and explains absolutely nothing. The ending of the story had no resolution or explanation, and it just felt like the writers just wanted their paycheck, and they just made up the ending and called it a day. It was so disappointing and confusing, and I left with more questions at the end of the movie than at the beginning. Heck, I did not even know that they were in a labyrinth until I looked at the film after I watched it. Like, how did they even get trapped in it? Overall, this film is bad, and it's a waste of time. I am once again extremely disappointed because this film had such a cool surrealist concept that had the potential to be a groundbreaking entry into the genre. If you want to go watch it, go ahead and watch it on Amazon Prime. But if I were you, I would do something better with your time, like building Lego flowers and putting on some good analog horror series on YouTube. To be fair, anything else is better than feeling stuck watching a movie about being trapped, because that's exactly what this movie felt for me.
Luckily, we won't trap you into hearing about it any longer because that's all we have for you on release date.
We'll be back for a little bit of friendly competition later, but at first, here's an exclusive interview with the one, the only, Medeiros.
21. I'm Savannah, and today I am joined by the wonderful Medeiros.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
For a little bit of an icebreaker to start off today's interview, if you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, which album would you pick?
This is hard. Okay, I have two. Either Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish or Bobby Tarantino II by Logic. I don't know. They're pretty different from each other.
Yeah, very
so.
different vibes,
Yeah.
but both good. And congratulations on dropping your debut single, Mixed Signals, last month. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of getting that produced and the inspiration behind the song?
All right, so it all started when I was supposed to be practicing my piano for a piano lesson, and then I got a little bit carried away. It was like 2 a.m. And I wrote Mixed Signals about a homoerotic situationship friendship I had in middle and high school. What ended up happening is that we had a pretty big conversation right before college where I was like, hey, I've always liked you. And she's like, well, why didn't you ask me? Even though she told me she was straight. So that's kind of the whole message of the song is I'm like, why? And yeah, getting it produced was honestly pretty difficult because I hopped on a bunch of Discord servers trying to find producers and trying to figure everything out, because I feel not a lot of the music industry is gatekept, but how to find a producer is complicated. Yeah, and then I started writing the song in October, and it came out in January, so yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, and I can imagine getting the producer part can be pretty hard, but glad to know that you were able to work that out. And I know that after this interview, you'll be playing an unreleased song for us. Can you tell us a little bit more about that one as well?
Yeah, of course. So this song is called Bare Minimum, and essentially what happened is that a lot of my friends, they are some of the most gorgeous people I've ever met in my life, keep settling for these people who are not it. And I try to tell them that, but they're like, no, he's great. They're amazing. And yeah, I did get my friends permission to write the song, but it was just sort of a compilation of just a bunch of people in my personal life coming to me about relationship issues, which I'm more than happy to help with, but they're so pretty, and then the people that they're dating are just not it.
Well, what's next for you in your music journey, and where can people find you in your music?
So what's next for me is a Bare Minimum is still in production, but it should be ready for release end of March, beginning of April. So that's the big next thing for me right now. In terms of anything else, we'll just have to see how it goes. And y'all can find me on Spotify and all major streaming platforms under the artist name Medeiros, and I'm also on Instagram at Medeiros Official Medeiros Music. So yeah, you can find me there.
Well, thank you for joining us today. That's all the time we have, but stick around for their final song later on in the show. Up next, let's take a peek at the recently released Marvel Rivals game with Zane's great, glorious, gargantuan, good, giant gaming guide.
Everyone, and welcome back to Zane's Great, Glorious, Gargantuan, Good, Giant Gaming Guide, the segment with a modest title. Today, I'll be doing a guide on how to play Magneto in Marvel Rivals, as there's too many heroes for me to realistically do a guide on in one video. Also, because I saved up my in-game currency for a month to buy this cool skin, and I'm going to show it off. Now, to start, you may be asking yourself, why can't I just open the ability menu and look at that instead? First, don't do that. Second, not only will I show you what his abilities are, but some strategies for how to use them effectively. And anyway, wouldn't you much rather have me explain it to you? To preface, all of the control terminology I'm going to be using is going to be heavily PC-centric since that's the system I play on. So, if you play on console, I don't know, figure it out. To start, Magneto's most basic ability is his left-click ability, which shoots a pretty standard projectile. This is going to be your main and most commonly used offensive ability, as there's not much more to it than pointing and clicking. It should be noted that unlike characters like the Punisher, whose projectiles travel instantaneously to their target, Magneto's projectiles have a travel time, so you'll have to lead your shots as you make them. If you're at all familiar with shooter games, this shouldn't be an issue. Next up, Magneto's right-click ability. This is pretty similar to his left-click in that it's a singular projectile with travel time, but with a few key differences. 1. This attack has 3 levels of charge it can be at. With each level, you deal more damage than the last, and at the third and highest level, it has a knockback effect when it hits an enemy. This can be used to create much needed space between your enemy and yourself, or do funny stuff like what I did to this Moon Knight. Also be aware that this ability is unusable until it hits at least level 1 charge. You can wait for it to charge over time, or speed up the process by using the next ability we're going to cover. Next, Magneto's E and F key abilities. Now, despite being mapped to 2 different buttons, these 2 abilities do the same thing, just to different people. This ability creates a personal shield around either you with the F key, or an ally with the E key. This enables you to save a low-health ally from death, shield yourself from the same situation, or give yourself some additional leverage when charging an enemy. Importantly, the more damage that the shield receives, irrespective of whether it's applied to you or an ally, the faster your right-click attack recharges, so be sure to cycle between them strategically, like pushing back an enemy's tank and giving an allied Wolverine a shield to charge them so that by the time they're back up to the front lines, you're recharged and can push them back again. The next ability is Magneto's Shift ability, which is a large shield that covers a great deal of horizontal space in front of you. This shield, unlike others such as Doctor Strange's, has unlimited health, and in turn is on a brief time limit. This doesn't make it useless, however, as this unlimited health makes it vital to countering almost every high-damaging enemy ultimate in the game, as well as a select few others. Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, or even another Magneto, this shield, if well-timed, has the ability to mitigate these ultimate attacks entirely. Next up, Magneto, like every other character, has his ultimate attack mapped to the Q key. Magneto's ultimate is special, as it's one of the few in the game that can instantly defeat essentially any healer using their ultimate. The way it works is Magneto rises into the air and begins to absorb the enemy's projectiles that are fired in a rather large radius around him. This metal ball that forms deals more and more damage the more projectiles it absorbs, as well as the longer you hold it before firing. Be careful, however, because if you run out of time, the ball will be thrown without your input, or if you absorb too many projectiles, you lose it entirely and it doesn't get thrown at all. It can be used to absorb and throw back high amounts of damage for easy kills, hard counter healer ultimates, or simply to absorb a powerful ultimate long enough for an ally to get the kill. Thanks, Balzac. And finally, Magneto's team-up ability with his daughter Scarlet Witch. If someone is playing as Scarlet Witch on your team, you gain a new ability mapped to the C key. This enables Magneto to channel his daughter's magic to boost his abilities and create a sword that fires high-damaging projectiles. These projectiles are slow-moving, so lead your targets carefully, but these do absurd damage, so it's worth the trade-off. Well, that about covers all you need to know about how to pick up and play Magneto at a base level. And yes, I'm aware the developers will have changed Magneto by the time this video airs, but the core of what I said should be in no way impacted by this. And also, I don't care. Have fun, and if anyone uses what I said against me, I'll spam report you until you're banned. I wasn't kidding about that last part either. If I continue to lose my rank games, I'm going to have a psychotic breakdown.
Anyways, welcome to a little bit of friendly competition.
The segment where our 2 teams of charismatic hosts compete for glory and a mystery prize in a battle of the wits.
Each week we have the opportunity to get 1 point, and at the end of the semester, the team with the most points is deemed the winner.
This week's question was also written by one of our crew members, none other than...
Me!
That's right. Take it away, Carrie.
Okay. So we have a little treat for you guys. Okay, so what is the only horror film that has won an Academy Award for Best Picture?
Ooh. I don't really watch horror films, not gonna lie.
I don't either. I'm a general movies guy, but jeez.
You could throw
The
out.
Shining is my best guess, but I doubt it's that. I feel
Not
like
a
that's
bad
not.
guess.
That's not a bad guess.
Unfortunately not. It should be, though. But
Yeah.
It's The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more of a thriller anyways, I feel like. So I feel like the question's wrong. I reject the premise.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, Silence of the Lambs, great movie, but honestly, Shining should have also won Best Picture. But oh well, the Oscars are rigged anyways.
Your turn. Who, mind you, who is the highest annually paid actor in Hollywood
Oh my
as of
God.
2023?
I'm trying to think of like popular actors right now.
I knew for a time Samuel L. Jackson was like the actor who had been paid the most for all of his, or like had generated the most money based on his roles for like movies, but I don't think that's him.
Oh my God.
How about Robert Downey Jr., since he's getting paid like $300 billion or whatever to be in Avengers?
Is that your final guess?
Yeah.
Might as well be.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Well, you're wrong. Sorry.
Worth a shot.
The answer is Adam Sandler.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Good for him, man.
Yeah,
Everybody
good
likes
for
his
Adam
movies, I
Sandler.
guess. No, I've never been a Sandler.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Adam Sandler for coming to Trinity,
And playing basketball.
playing
Apparently.
basketball. Yeah, no,
Yes.
that was awesome.
We love
Match up
that.
with him.
Yeah, we
Well-
love him for that.
Thanks for playing along with us.
And next up, please enjoy a final song from Medeiros on their soon-to-be-released single, Bare Minimum. And we'll see you next week on
Studio
21.
When you meet a new guy, I get scared. Your judgment's tainted by the crisp winter air. You're like a 10 and he's maybe a 4. If I feel like being nice, maybe I'll add more. He's just another dude, he's not that special. He might be handsome, tall, and somewhat cordial. Please don't settle now. I know you know how. Look me in my eyes and tell me that you're pretty. And please don't compromise. You're so pretty and you're so kind. I promise times are running out. You're just still young. Are you in love or is it just the bare minimum? Raise the standards, girl, you deserve the world. Is he really that cute or is he just not ugly? Does he really fit the bill or are you pretending? She says he calls her pretty and it makes her smile. They talk like two best friends that haven't caught up in a while. She asks how does he like her, but isn't it obvious? Who dug her self-esteem a grave down in the bush? Please don't settle now. I know you know how. Look me in my eyes and tell me that you're pretty. And please don't compromise. You're so pretty and you're so kind. I promise times are running out. You're just still young. Are you in love or is it just the bare minimum? you guys so much for tuning in to Studio 21 today.